welcome to Backyard Food Guide. What I'd like to do today is to talk about the vegetables that do require fertilizing and the ones that don't. It's not always clear which ones should be the heavy feeders, and therefore some people may over-fertilize their gardens. Our garden is an organic garden, so we do not use any petrochemical fertilizers. And what we prefer to do is actually to make our own in terms of using either kelp or even a weed tea, or the best one would be a compost tea. So with those combinations, it's perfectly safe. And I think what's even more important than adding the fertilizers is that at the end of every season, we prepare our soils well. So I'll do a video at the end of the season to show how we prepare our soil for the next season. There are a number of things that you can be doing to make sure that you have a healthy soil come springtime. So in terms of the vegetables, the heavy feeders include things like the brassicas. So the broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower family all need a certain amount of fertilizing. So usually what I'll do is once a week to use a diluted organic fertilizer in the garden just to make sure things are going well. And other very heavy feeders would also include the squash family. So items like zucchini, cucumber, eggplant, pumpkins, summer and winter squashes, it's always a good idea to fertilize them once a week as well. The next group that's important for fertilizing would be the potato family. So in this, I've also added beets, potatoes, sweet potato, beets, any kind of tuber that grows underneath would be ripe for fertilizing. We also have corn. I don't tend to grow corn. It comes all at once and it's relatively inexpensive to buy when it's in season. But for those who do like corn, it's a good idea to keep them well fertilized as well. The next group would be the onions and garlic. It's a good idea once a week to give them that diluted fertilizer. We also have tomatoes, hot peppers, sweet peppers. Those are heavy feeders. And then the last category would be the melons. So if you're growing watermelon, honeydew, cantaloupe, it's a good idea to fertilize them at least once a week. Now, keep in mind that in fact, most vegetables in your garden don't need to be fertilizers. And I have grouped those as well. So the ones that don't need fertilizing, as long as you've started out with a good quality soil, would include herbs and any kind of greens. So things like lettuce, bok choy, collards, kale, arugula, spinach, those do not need fertilizing. We also have beans and peas, which do fairly well on their own, and also carrots, parsnips, celery, leeks, radishes, turnips, and scallions are all okay in the garden bed itself without fertilizing. So this gives you an idea, and if you have things that are close together, like herbs with tomatoes, and you want to fertilize, that's perfectly fine. And again, try to use an organic fertilizer rather than anything petrochemical. What you want to do is to make sure that what you're fertilizing isn't too strong and that you don't end up burning your plants. So that's one of the key things to remember, and that's why I prefer, certainly in the mid-season, to use organic fertilizers. Of course, if you have a very strong kelp tea, it is still possible to burn the plants. So you want to be careful to follow the instructions if you've purchased kelp fertilizer, or if you made your own, to make sure to dilute it properly and perhaps to apply the fertilizer on the soil itself rather than on any leaves of the plants, especially if the plants are younger. So any tender leaves, it wouldn't be a good idea to pour fertilizer directly on them, or at least you want to make sure it's a very diluted blend of fertilizer if you want to spray the plants themselves. So hopefully this was a helpful video in learning which plants need fertilization and which ones don't. If you like the video, please click like and subscribe. Thank you very much.